Imagine if every single person on your sales team could sell more of your products and services consistently, predictably, and profitably without having to offer discounts, quote lower margins, or compete on price in a race to the bottom just to get the business. I mean, what would that do for your revenue, your business, meeting your sales goals, your job as a sales leader, your stress level, your bonus? Now, if all of your salespeople are already doing this consistently, and you guys are crushing your numbers month after month, quarter after quarter, and year after year, then go ahead and click away from this video. You've already won the sales game at the highest level, and there's probably nothing I can do for you. But if your salespeople are struggling to make quota, inconsistent in their efforts and results, and or riding an emotional sales roller coaster, this may be the most important video you'll watch this year. And here's why. Because I'm going to share with you how to teach your salespeople how to sell more consistently, predictably, and profitably without having to offer discounts, quote lower margins, or compete on price. But before I jump in, you're probably thinking, who is this guy and why should I invest my valuable time listening to him? And that's a great question. My name is Dwayne Huff, and I'm a 24-year sales veteran. The first 14 years of my career I spent as a sales professional. I got to be honest with you and say the first 6 years were dismal. I went through 9 jobs in 6 years because I refused to be the Glenn Glary, Glenn Ross, boiler room, high-pressure, aggressive, hard-closing sales professional. And as a result, I found my way through multiple jobs. But fortunately, in the 7th year, I ran across a great opportunity where I had great mentors, great leaders, great sales managers who allowed me to be myself, trained me the right way, and helped me to succeed in sales. After 14 years in sales, I launched out on my own to start my own company, I.N.F.L.U.E.N.C.E Seminars. And for the past 12 years, I've worked with small, medium, and large-sized companies helping their sales professionals sell more, consistently, predictably, and profitably with my program, Selling with Influence. Now, I know you recognize many of these companies, and if you go into my LinkedIn page, you will see testimonials from my clients. But I think the most important thing is to talk about how I've been able to help these companies and how I may be able to help you. Through my program and through sales training, I've been able to help these companies boost lagging sales and sustain consistent sales growth. I've helped them increase their sales revenues by as much as 30% in just 90 days. I've helped them to increase their profitability by increasing their margins as much as 20%. And I've helped some of their salespeople even close their first $1 million account. But the bottom line is I've helped them to improve and sustain sales growth long term. And that's why this is what I believe I can do to add value to you and your sales team. In addition to all that I just mentioned, I have more than 24 years of selling experience combined, which has given me perspective from working across more than 50 industries and training over 200 companies. And just so you know that what I'm teaching is relevant, I'm still in the trenches every single day selling my products, my services, my coaching, my training, and staying on top of innovating selling strategies and best practices. And I'm able to train from best practices and some of the best selling methodologies. Look, there's companies out there that do a great job of sales training, but this is not about sales training. But one of the things you'll find is that I'm not beholden to one process, one system, one strategy, one framework, or one methodology. So by the end of this short overview, you're going to see how to get your sales professionals to leverage the power of influence to sell more of your products and services at full value so you guys can crush your quota and make more money. And listen, when I'm finished with this short presentation, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me through the means you see right here. But more importantly, if you feel like there's some merit here and we can work together to help increase your sales performance, grab a spot on my calendar that works for you and we'll have a deeper conversation. But without further ado, let me jump into the overview. See, here's the whole premise of my Selling with Influence program. I believe that product knowledge and sales training are important, but they're not enough to help you and your sales team achieve consistent, predictable, and profitable sales growth. Besides working across all of those industries and with all of those companies in my own selling experience, I've seen patterns, trends, and data that suggest that when companies invest in training their people, again, product knowledge and sales training just aren't enough to achieve the consistency, the predictability, and the profitability. Companies will spend on average 90% of their training budget and resources, time, energy, and effort in product knowledge, which is very important. It's important and imperative that your people know the product or the service, but they only spend 10% on selling skills and sales training. Well, let's say you're a little bit more ambitious, your company's a little bit more ambitious, and you have spent 50% of your resources and time on product knowledge and given 50% to sales training. I'd be willing to bet that You're not consistently and predictably selling all that you would like to sell. But don't worry, you're not alone. 40 to 50% of sales professionals across industries, depending on the data that you look at, are missing quota or not hitting quota consistently. Why is that? It's because sales training and product knowledge simply are not enough to help you achieve consistent, predictable, and profitable sales growth. And the way to bridge this gap is selling with influence. Now, please don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying that product knowledge and sales training or selling skills are not important. They're foundational. They're absolutely critical. In fact, if you need sales training for your sales team, I know where you can get some of the very best. But let's go ahead and bust some more myths, because I said that product knowledge and sales training are not enough to achieve the consistent, predictable, and profitable sales growth. But guess what? Neither is forecasting, because the numbers don't lie, but as you well know, they don't tell the whole story. Even when your sales professionals are using their CRM to its capacity, and you and I both know they don't, they're still treating sales like it's a numbers game. And depending upon your industry, it may be somewhat of a numbers game, but quality is just as important as quantity. But again, it's not enough. And here's one that we really need to break apart. And we've all heard it. It's become cliche. Just add more value. Well, let me ask you this. How many times have you or your sales professionals tried to do something for one of your clients, give something to one of your prospects, offer something to close a deal, only to have them say, no, thank you, don't want it, don't need it, we're going somewhere else? It's frustrating, isn't it? So the question is, how do you get your salespeople to sell more consistently, predictably, and profitably without having to offer discounts, quote lower margins, or compete on price? And you might be thinking, well, Dwayne, we can't negotiate our prices. Well, negotiating is just a very small percentage about dollars and cents, but it's about the next opportunity. It's about open doors. It's about terms. It's about conditions. It's about value, and it's about how you create aligned value. So the answer is we have to get them to increase their influence, but not how you may think. So in this context, I'd like to address what is influence and why is influence important to their sales results. In order to do that, let me share with you the acronym that's a part of the Selling with Influence framework. The I stands for increased aligned value. Now let's break that apart and talk about it. We talked earlier about trying to give something, do something, offer something, buy something, create something for a client, a prospect, a potential buyer, only to have them resist, push back, or not accept it. What happened there? Well, we were trying to give them something that we thought they should want or they thought they should need, but they did not. They did not already value it. But what if we could spend time understanding what it is they already truly want and value about your product, your service, or solution, and help them to get it or give them more of it? What kind of impact, what kind of results, what kind of response could we get? And N stands for never sell on need. We've all heard it, but sometimes we don't embrace it. People only buy what they want, not what they need. So we need to find out what they think they want, whether that's from a corporate level or personal, because if you're working in a complex sell, you have multiple stakeholders. If the what's in it for me is not in it for them the way they perceive it, they will not respond. They will not act. They will not take action, or they'll veto or simply say no. So we need to find out what they think they want and then sell them what they need. Because many times, and that's not bait and switch, it's just many times understand what the customer thinks they want and realize that what they really need is our product, our service, or our solution that they're not aware of or don't know how to verbalize or simply are not aware of. The L stands for leading them to make the best decision for them. And many times salespeople get in such a mode because they've been trained in selling skills or sales training, and they think the ultimate goal is to make a sale. Well, the ultimate goal is do what's in the best interest of the buyer. And many times that's sending them on their way, pointing them in a different direction. But we have to qualify them in and out early so that we don't waste time, effort, energy, and resources on an opportunity that's never going to close. And the U stands for understand them and demonstrate that understanding, because as one of my friends and mentors, Dean Graziosi, likes to say, people do not buy when they understand you, they buy when they feel understood. And so many times our sales professionals, our salespeople are not taking the time to fully and truly understand their prospects and their potential buyers, but even if they do, they're not demonstrating that knowledge and that deep understanding all throughout the process. E stands for explain and empower. In other words, whenever you have put together a solution that's going to solve what they want, but ultimately what they really need, you have to be able to connect the dots for them so they can see it in their way, in their language, in the way that they value it, and then prepare them for the emotional strife that's going to happen whenever they have to make that final decision. Because whether it's them and a partner, them and their spouse, them and a committee, it does not matter. They're going to meet with emotional distress when they go to make a final decision, because everybody in that buying process has seen the same demos, they've seen the same data, and they think it's a logical decision. But whenever they go to make that final decision, especially if they're in a group or a committee, everybody's personal wants, or what's in it for me personally or corporately, is going to be different. And they have to be ready to fight for the solution that you guys have created together. And many times your sales professionals are going to have to navigate that and help negotiate win-win outcomes for everybody involved. Them, your company, the committee, their buyer, the champion in the organization, whoever it is, they're going to have to be able to facilitate an outcome that serves everyone in a way that perpetuates and strengthens relationship and business. And so that's why C is about co-creating solutions and then committing to next steps. And then when all of that is said and done, and whether we've won the business or lost the business, there's always something to learn and carry forward. And that's why evaluating outcomes, no matter what they are, is imperative as an individual, but also as a team and a group. And here's what I mean by that. So many times we win the business and we move on to the next thing, or we lose the business and we move on to the next thing because we don't self-evaluate and say, what went well? What were the opportunities? What could we do better moving forward? Because if we lost it, it's too painful. But if we won, we just kind of thump our chest and we move on to the next thing to move on and conquer more. But what if your sales reps could get in the habit of every time they won or lost, or after every call and before every call, they could evaluate and they could see, what are some of the things I can carry forward where I've won? What are some of the things I can avoid, or the pitfalls where I've lost? And then after the call, do the very same thing, but more importantly, bring it into each and every sales meeting that you have. So not only they could win, but the entire team could win together, because as the old saying says, a rising tide raises all boats. So that's influence and why it's important. But if I just had to summarize it into one piece, what is influence in the context of selling? I'd point to the I in this acronym, which is increased aligned value. How can we better or do a better job of giving or helping the customer, the buyer, the prospect get more of, or give them more of, what they truly value? And again, the way we do that is to help your salespeople sell with influence or increase their influence. And in order to do that, let me share the key essentials of sales influence in the way of 3 metaphors, and show you how to show your sales professionals how to sell more doing what they're already doing, because I don't want to touch your sales process unless you decide it needs tweaking, and I don't want to change what they're already doing. I just want to help them to do it better. So let me start with the ornament metaphor. Imagine for a moment that this Christmas tree is their product knowledge and sales training. It's a good, sturdy, healthy tree, but you're not going to put it in your living room or in your business without decorating it. Well, imagine that these ornaments represent all the things that they need to do to increase their influence within their sales process and current selling skills and product knowledge. What it's going to yield is consistent, predictable, and profitable sales growth, which is represented by these gifts. But let me take it a step further and talk about a puzzle metaphor. So instead of ornaments, look at it as a puzzle. And the pieces of the puzzle represent key essentials of influence, such as how they attract, connect with, communicate with, educate, create aligned value for, lead, solve problems, negotiate, and present their products, services, and solutions to potential buyers. But if you were to invest in training your sales professionals on all of these disciplines, you could easily spend tens of thousands of dollars, and it's not necessary, because not all of the information that they would learn through a training on each one of those topics is relevant to what they need to increase their influence to sell more consistently, predictably, and profitably. But that's what I've put into my Selling with Influence program. And that's what I show them how to connect effectively so that they can become more effective. But let me take one step further and let's consider the leaking bucket metaphor. You see, your sales professionals might be leaking sales and opportunities because they're not picking up on the right buying signals. And if they are, they're overselling. And we all know the cliche that we shouldn't be talking ourselves out of a sell, but that's exactly what they're doing because they're not picking up on buying signals. Maybe they don't know how to handle their most common objections effectively. Sometimes they fail to differentiate their products, their services, their solutions from their competition, or maybe they're not effective at closing sales properly. Or it could be that they don't know how to ask great questions and guide the conversation with the potential buyer. And when they do that, they miss conversational opportunities because they were either unaware of the opportunity, they didn't pick up on the subtle hints, or they didn't know where to take the conversation or lead the customer. You see, any one of these could be the gap that is between product knowledge and sales training that's keeping you from that consistent, predictable, and profitable sales growth. But here's how we bridge it. We teach them to sell with influence. And when we do, they know how to sell more consistently, predictably, and profitably without having to offer discounts, quote lower margins, or compete on price just to get the business. So I really hope this overview has served. Again, my name is Dwayne Huff, founder and CEO of Influence Seminars, 24-year sales veteran, and I'd love to help your sales professionals achieve that consistency and predictability that you're looking for. So if you found value in this presentation, please go back to the email or the message that I sent you, select a time on my calendar through the link that's provided, and I look forward to discussing how we can get your entire sales team selling more consistently, predictably, and profitably. Talk soon. Bye-bye.